Hello.
Good morning, Tamar. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Sharona. Good morning to you all.
Here we go again. And we start with a moment of silence so that the morning really can be good, at least a little different.
Definitely different.
I become aware of an inner world as I turn my attention to my mind or my heart. And yet there's more to the inner world than whatever is the stress, the worries, any kind of heaviness that could be in the mind or heart. There is such depth to my inner world. I can go right beyond that kind of energy into a space as clean, fresh, and clear as a garden in the morning. Bring that image to your awareness. Be seated in a fresh morning garden. And take in that gentle silence as if it's your own. Because it is.
I like the sound of silence. Somebody even wrote a song.
I was just going to say, sounds like a good title for a song.
So,
Silence is really something. Many would be afraid of it, but there's something called sweet silence.
Yeah.
So our thought for today, very connected to what we just did, put a full stop in a second. Put a full stop in a second. And basically what we're talking about is a full stop to a kind of thinking or kind of feeling which you know ultimately is only going to pull you down. So in a second, put a full stop. In which the real question is, how do you do that? Because we would all like to do that. I mean, once we've become aware of the damage, or I should say, once we become aware of the power of thought, even one thought, and how feelings are just groups of thoughts. So when we become aware of that, then definitely we want to be able to stop completely. Full means completely. And we do well if we can do it in a second. So
I think it is the question, how do we do that? But before we do that, I have to say that the sentence, put a full stop in a second, really helps me sometimes, first of all, by acknowledging it. Because a lot of the time before I knew that sentence, I was, when I had negative thoughts or when I was starting to feel like I wasn't aware of that. it took me time to notice that I'm in a loop, in a bad loop. Or even if I recognize it, I said, okay, I'm thinking wrong. What do I need to do? You start thinking about your thoughts. And there's something very special about this sentence, put a full stop in a second, which first of all draws our attention. It's possible. You can put a full stop in a second. It is an option that you can choose right now.
That's right.
And we can talk about how we do that, but even the notion of understanding that I can control and put a full stop, the thought itself, it's very powerful, I think.
You're so right, because that's kind of like a foundation to the power in this thought, that I am not my thoughts. This is huge. I'm not my thoughts. My thoughts are my creation. Maybe we got so used to thinking a certain way. Somebody walks in the door, I'm triggered in this way, and then that's the way I'm always triggered every time I see this person or anyone acting like this person acts. And so we think, no, that's me. That's the way I think when I see somebody like this. But no, at some point I made a choice to have this thought, or to allow this kind of thought to sit there. And then it just became a habit of programming and conditioning. But I'm not my programmings and my conditionings, and I'm not my thoughts. We just said my programmings, my conditioning. So who do they belong to? They belong to I, the being, the intelligent force in this body. So I do create these thoughts. And who's going to be more powerful, the creator or the creation? So like that, you're right. It's a very empowering thought to give myself.
Yeah. First of all, it's not automatic because we're used to it. So it's like it becomes a habit, it becomes automatic, and we're not noticing. And I even think that sometimes we notice it, but we don't feel we have the power. It's like our thoughts are controlling us.
That's right, exactly.
I can't take it out of my mind.
That's right.
Somebody would say, and this sentence turns the equation.
That's
turns
right.
it upside down and brings the power back to you. Now, how do we do that, Sharona? How do we put it?
I would say you really picked up on something powerful. So before even the how, I'm also just looking at how quickly our thoughts do spiral out of our control.
Yeah.
I have the one thought, and this is why it's so important in a second to do something about it, because very quickly it spirals. And I'll start analyzing the problem, the person, the situation, the thought, and I'll start analyzing and trying to figure out what I need to do. And the big danger in that is that then overthinking becomes a habit. Yeah. And then I'll pick up anything like a jingle on the TV or from the internet. It'll go in and I'll just overthink that, not even thinking. It'll just be repeating and repeating and repeating. So much power just being thrown right out the window. So how important it is to understand that we don't have to just logic and analyze our way through problems and situations. We have a lot of wisdom that we can be pulling from, but that's kind of like the first step in being able to take charge. So there's a phone ringing here. I hope you don't hear it too much.
No, we don't.
Okay, that's good. So how? Okay, I can share what I do. First thing is I apply what I call a braking thought. Brake as in a car, you have a brake. A braking thought is different from an alternative thought. So breaking thoughts are thoughts which move me to that space that we went to in our meditation. A breaking thought takes me into that other part of the self, where there isn't worry, fear, there isn't even the way we logic and reason things. It's very peaceful. It's a very clean space, which is where my wisdom lies. Wisdom also means just my knowing. It's amazing how you can arrive at the same conclusion that you'll arrive to after beating your brains out to logic or analyze a situation. You can arrive at the same point by sitting there in that space beyond the mind, in your gentle silence. You can know, it just comes to you. So I call that a breaking thought, such as we do at the beginning of our program, to get ourselves into that palace of the self. Because then I can come up with an alternative thought. There, in that space, I'll have a different way of seeing what's going on. So, for example, my first thought would be, I hate that person. When they walk in their room, or like, oh, I can't deal with this. Or I don't want to have to deal with this. My breaking thought is, stop. Don't sit there. You're sitting in the place where garbage gets thrown out, the backyard of your palace. Or worse, as we've seen in past sessions. Go sit in a salon, one of your gorgeous living rooms or anterooms, and enjoy the spaciousness, the beauty, the landscape gardens out your window. Get there. But that, of course, takes practice. That's what a spiritual practice is, I feel. But with a little bit of a practice, a little bit of, spending time in my palace of the self, then I'm in a different space. It's like, on a gross level, you want to just pick yourself up and go to Hawaii or something like that. You want to pick yourself up and go out to nature. You don't actually have to do that physically. You've got Hawaii inside you. You've got a beautiful nature inside you. So that's the first thing to do. And from there, the larger picture, you might come up with another thought like, hey, wait a minute. If this person is really a disturbance, I'll just excuse myself and I'll leave the room. That's fine. But actually, if this person is doing their best and it's my issue, I'm just too easily annoyed and irritated, then let me see if I can't use this as an opportunity to cultivate another quality, like acceptance, allowing, trust. I choose, but in that space, I can choose so many different thoughts and come back into the relationship or the moment vibrationally different, and then with a different thought.
It's really nice what you described now, because I think the minute we let go of the mind and trying to analyze is the minute that, and you called it an alternative thought, comes in without us seeking it. I think it's very important. I think what you described so beautifully is, you walking to your living room. You can imagine that, you can be that, you can, any way you practice it. Go sit in your living room in this marvelous space. You don't even need to think, what do I need to do? You don't think of why is this person here, or you don't ask your mind. You just go to your living room, and suddenly from this quietness, some kind of thought will arise without you looking for it. Because a lot of the times when we start looking for, we get stuck in the same, it's like a dead end street. We didn't go that way, but we went in another way, so we're still stuck.
That's right.
And not looking for an answer, just for a second letting the situation be, going to the place where I want to be, like you said. And I really find it sometimes, when I just start feeling this, loop of thoughts or negative thoughts, I just stop. I don't want to be here. I just feel it. Stop. I don't want to be here. And then, there's all kinds of way when you play with your mind. Like, for instance, if I hear myself say a sentence with a period or exclamation mark at the end, I put a question mark. So you can play with the mind, but I think you described, and it's very nice, because when you start playing with the mind and giving him a question, I don't like this person, and then you put, I don't like this person, something else starts to happen there at that moment.
Nice.
I like this person, actually, and you can play with the mind. That's mind games, and it's really nice because it also breaks. I feel it also gives something to break from, but it still is with your mind. And there is something very nice when you stop digging and overthinking.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Generally speaking, I feel that at this point in time, hold on, I'm going to turn off this fluorescent light because I think it's creating some waves. I'm not sure. Anyway, there's a danger. Or let me put it this way. At this point in time, we know so many formulas for confronting the parts and the pieces and the programmings in us that we don't like. We have many, many formulas, but any of them that involve the mind, that involve the thinking, run the risk of draining us further, because it feeds this addiction, and I really feel it's become an addiction for many of us, to overthink. We're thinking far, far more than we were actually made, and the brain was not made to be thinking that much. There is a huge amount of stress just from that, and a loss of power. So what we need is, when I call it breaking thoughts, it's to give the self a break. It's to give the self a break. It's to give the mind a break and get yourself into a space of truth. Because, my programmings and conditionings and my reactions mostly are not true. They're man-made. They're not according to the original molding. And of course, on a spiritual path, we understand that the original nature of the self is to be peaceful, giving, considerate, mannerly, having, a good wish for people generally. So we have built amazingly unhelpful and destructive programmed ways of thinking and feeling. But if I can start training myself to jump into that other space, those programmings and conditionings aren't there. That space is disconnected from my physical senses and from my programmings and conditionings, my usual way. So you're taking a break. And I really do feel that that's the missing piece, so to speak, because most of the time we will know that this is not the right thought, right feeling, and we'll know what is the right feeling or thought, but we don't have the power. And we're just lost to the addiction, either of a negative reaction or circling, trying to resolve it through the mind.
And I think we're not against using the mind. The mind is very good for certain things. For instance, to know how to get from here to there. He knows how to, plan things. He has his parts and duties, and it's good to use it. But what we're saying is, do not go to let him waste your energy. And all of us know when we start wasting an energy. And that's when I say the full stop. I like that sentence for me, because it's really easy when you start noticing to notice. when you are letting your mind use your energy. And it's like the roles have been upside down. I don't want to waste my energy. I have good energy. I want to keep my energy for good things. I don't want to waste my energy. So we know when we're using our energy, and we need to get to a full stop now because time always runs by somehow.
It really does. But just to say that the mind is the most creative power we have. We're definitely not going to stop thoughts. We just want to start being the master and choose my thoughts.
Great. Yeah.
Okay. So curiously enough, we take a thought to bring us to that space beyond thought. It's there, that inner garden. I am a being of spacious, unlimited peace.
It's easier to put a full stop to the thinking than to being there.
Yeah.
So
We have to
thank
get
you
there.
very much. Bye everyone. Om Shanti. Bye Sharona. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.